All right, let's begin um, the linear programming uh, introduction. So, our problem is that we want to either minimize a function called C transpose X, or we could also be wanting to maximize C transpose X. So, it could be either this or maximize C transpose X subject to M constraints of the form Ax is less than or equal to B, and all our x variables, that is x1, x2 to xn, that it's an n-dimensional problem. All of the x variables, the decision variables, are greater than or equal to 0. So a very simple illustration here. Uh, we want to minimize over x1, x2 and x3. Let's say a function 2x1 plus 3x2 minus x3, and the constraints given are x1 plus x2 plus x3 is less than or equal to 1, x1 plus 2x2 is less than or equal to 4, and x1, x2 and x3 are greater than or equal to 0. So you can see that the objective function is a linear function, and the constraints are also linear, and hence this problem is called a linear programming problem. So C transpose X, if you expand it, it is essentially C1x1 plus C2x2 up to Cn(xn). Now this C1, C2 to Cn, if it's a minimization problem, then it's usually a cost minimization problem in many times. Then these are also known as cost coefficients. Basically, they are the constants in the objective function. And uh, what is what are variables are the decision variables are x1, x2 to xn. These are our decision variables. So in this example here, what is the cost coefficient? C1 is 2, C2 is 3, and C3 is minus 1. Now this uh, x1, x2, this constraint is essentially the constraint that is represented here as Ax less than or equal to B. So if you want to write this in matrix form, this is going to look like 1, 1, 1, 1, 2, 0. So first column for x1, second column for x2, third column for x3, and then uh, only two equations. So I need a smaller bracket. x1, x2, x3. So the first one gives you the first equation. This should be less than or equal to 1. The second equation is that it should be less than or equal to 0. And so you have got Ax is less than or equal to B. And all this, even though you should not misinterpret this as my statement that x3 alone is greater than or equal to 0. By this kind of a notation, I am saying that x1, x2 and x3, all the three decision variables are greater than or equal to 0. Now the standard form of a linear programming problem is actually, let me write it in a different color, is minimize C transpose X, Ax is equal to B, and X is greater than or equal to 0. This is the standard form of the linear programming problem. So, uh, the standard form. Oops. I'll always refer to this as the standard linear programming problem. So, to convert any such problem, any non-standard problem, though it is a linear programming problem if objective function is linear and constraints are linear. So, in that case, to convert this into a standard linear programming problem, we resort to adding, either adding or subtracting slack variables. Okay, so for example here, let's look at the first constraint here. X1 plus 2x2 is less than or equal to 4. Now x1, x2 and x3 are already variables. Now since this is less than or equal to 4, in general less than 4, then to make it 4, I will have to add something extra. That's the slackness. And that slackness I am defining here by variable x4. So I get x1 plus x2 plus x3 plus x4 is equal to 1. So by adding one slack variable here, by, by adding one slack variable here x4, I have made this inequality constraint into a equality constraint. Now let's look at the second equation. X1 plus 2x2 is less than or equal to 4. To convert this into equality, what do I do? Again, since the LHS is less than or equal to 4, to make it equal to 4, I will have to I will have to add something, which is the slackness. To remove that slackness, I will have to add something, and that is the new variable x5. And so I get the constant as x1 plus 2x2 plus 0 times x3 plus 0 times x4 plus 1 plus x5 is equal to 4. So this this set of equations, we call them as the augmented set of equations. All right. This set of equations, we call them as augmented set of equations. And now the slack variables that we have added, x4 and x5, they are also greater than or equal to 0. Hence, x1, x2, x3, x4, x5 all should be greater than or equal to 0. Now let's say that instead we were given a constraint, inequality constraint of greater than or equal to type. So 2x1, let's say, minus x3 is greater than or equal to 1.5. This is what was given. Then what we have to do is to convert it into a equality equation so that we get the standard form ax is equal to b. Now this is greater than 1.5. So you should be subtracting something to make it 1.5. That what you are subtracting should be non-negative or positive. So therefore you subtract x6, now new variable x6, and then you get this is equal to 1.5. So this is the point. If it is a greater than or equal to, if the constraint is of the type less than or equal to, add a non-negative slack variable. If the constraint is of the type greater than or equal to, subtract a non-negative slack variable, because the slack variable is non-negative. And then you get the standard linear programming form: minimize C transpose X, Ax is equal to B, X is greater than or equal to 0. So there are m inequality constraints, n variables, all non-negative. Okay, so once you have brought the problem to a standard linear programming form, what do you do next? Before deciding that, let's look at usual structure of this standard linear programming problem. So first of all, we assume that m is strictly less than n, and none of the constraints can be obtained by linear combination of other constraints. So by this, what I mean to say is, suppose I had, let me take a color like this, constraint x1 plus x2 is equal to 3. Okay. And now I have another constraint, let's say x1 plus x3 is equal to, say, 6. Okay. And then I have a third constraint, 2x1 plus x2 plus x3 is equal to 9. So what do I conclude from here? I conclude from here that equation 1 multiplied by 1 plus equation 2 also multiplied by 1, when they are added together, I am getting the third equation. I get the third equation. So does the third equation contain any new information which is not there in 1 and 2? Absolutely not. So then I can throw one of these three equations. Either I can throw the third equation, or I can throw the second equation, or I can throw the first equation. Any one equation I can throw. So for example, if I decide to throw away the third equation and retain only the first equation, I would get, again I would get the same old thing, x1 plus x2 equal to 3, x1 plus x3 is equal to 3. So then how many equations do I have? Two equations and three variables. So we assume that none of the constraints equations, I'm sorry, we assume that none of the none of the constraints can be obtained by linear combination of the other equations. And the other thing is that we assume that m is less than n. Why? Because if otherwise, let me write it here. If otherwise, I have to change the color of the pen. Okay. If otherwise, suppose m is equal to n, then what will happen? I'll get a square matrix X, which is n cross n. This is a n cross 1 vector. This is a n cross 1 vector. I'll get Ax is equal to B. Since all the equations are linearly independent, A matrix will have a inverse. So X equal to A inverse B is the unique solution to it. So then what is it that you are minimizing or maximizing? There is nothing you can do. Of course, it's still an optimum, whether you frame this as problem as a minimization problem or a maximization problem. Your answer is that it has only one solution. Objective function value is C transpose A inverse B, and it doesn't matter whether you call it a minimum or a maximum. In other words, it's such a problem is totally uninteresting. In real life optimization problems, you will not get such problems. So you need some degree of freedom. You need some degree of freedom. Unless there is some degree of freedom to optimize, what really does the role of objective function have? What really is an optimization problem? So when m is less than n, we get degree of freedom of, how much degree of freedom do we get? N minus m. So like if you have 10 variables and 3 equations, you have 7 degrees of freedoms. If you have 10 variables and 9 equations, you just have 1 degree of freedom. The first problem is more interesting than the second problem because there were more degrees of freedom. So probably you would get much more better optimal solution with much more lower cost if it's a minimization problem, or much higher cost than if it's a maximization problem, than any just one arbitrary solution which is feasible you pick up and say, okay, let's stick to this. So with respect to that, the optimal would be far better solution. So now it's clear that why we are saying that we assume that m is less than n and none of the constraints can be obtained by linear combination of other constraints. A feasible solution, say x naught, exists for the constraints that is LP has a feasible solution. In other words, what I am saying is, if the problem is infeasible, if the problem is infeasible, uh, if the problem is infeasible, then what's the point uh, in formulating this? I'll give you an illustration of an infeasible problem. Okay, let's say very simple illustration. Infeasible problem. Same thing, let me take x1 plus x2 is equal to 3, x1 plus x3 is equal to 6, and I add 2x1 plus x2 plus x3. Instead, the right hand side, instead of being 9, let's say it becomes 10. Now, since the third equation is just left hand side, if you look at it, is to be obtained by adding the left hand side of the first and second equation. So automatically when I add these two equations, the right hand side should be 9. Any x1, x2, x3 which satisfies first and second equation will cause in the third equation the right hand side to become 9, but but that is really will cause the right hand side to become 9, but you want right hand side to be 10. Is it possible? It's not possible. So such a problem is infeasible. There is no interest. It just means it's a badly framed problem. There are tests to detect infeasibility of such in the linear programming problem, but for the time being, we will leave aside those tests and we'll just assume that a feasible solution, say x naught, exists for the constraints. That is, LP has a feasible solution. Now, the next question is, how can we detect if a problem is infeasible? How can we detect if a problem is infeasible? Okay, we'll leave that for the time being. But phase one of the simplex method can detect if the problem is infeasible. So, with that kind of a thought in mind, uh, let us now